Hi, welcome to today's Friday live. Look, I've moved it by 30 minutes and to see if it works. But today we're going to be talking about surrendering to get what you want or to manifest what you're after. Um, Hello, Kristine, is this working? Okay, yeah, so today we're going to be talking about manifesting when you're not at your best self. Like it's so easy to think, when you're at your best self and you're having a good time and you're feeling fired up, you're healthy, you're well, you're like, yep, I'm manifesting my everything that I want because you're conscious and you have that. It's a lot easier to control your thoughts and your emotions and to sort of just be in that. P.S. My mum is currently here, hence this has turned into a bed temporarily. Um, yeah. So, but what do you do when you're not feeling so hot? What do you do? How do you manifest what you want when you are not in the best place? This might happen because you're really busy at work and you're feeling stressed, or you might, sometimes you just hormonal imbalances. You know what I mean? Or you might be in a place where just things aren't going your way. You feel like things aren't going your way, so you feel like in your mood you're not up, if you know what I mean. And you know that your vibes are a little bit lower than usual. What do we do? Well, the quick answer is this: surrender. What does that even look like? To me, what surrender looks like is to be like, yep, this is what it is. It is what it is. I am how I am. I feel how I feel. And it kind of removes the tension and the need to really like pull yourself out of that mood, because sometimes when you're trying to pull yourself out of the mood, it's that in itself is resistance. I read this quote somewhere about um how the very pursuit of happiness in itself is an act of resistance, because you're chasing after it. And I thought, what the heck? That blew my mind. I was like, that is so freaking true. Because when you're pursuing, you're actively trying to get, you're putting energy in. You're y- there's almost a way of behaving that you don't have it. Like happiness is not here right now. It's in that thing that I'm trying to get, or in that moment that I'm pursuing. And I think that's not the forever framework of pursuit of happiness. It's not to say that, aiming for happiness is like a bad thing. But that quote like really blew my mind, because when you're pursuing something, it's almost to say that you don't have it right now. So what about when you're feeling a bit low, or you're feeling a little bit like you can sense yourself being really judgy on the inside? Have you ever felt that, where you feel like you're judging situations, people, yourself, for not going the way that you want them to go, and you're feeling in that place, and you can sense it, and you're like, you end up judging yourself even more. You're like, this sucks. Oh, why am I judging it? Well, now I suck. So what do we do? And this is a practice that I've been everything that we talk about here is something that I've been experimenting with, and being like, what does this mean for me? Like, what does it look like? And I found, look, I'll be honest with you. Story time. Every month, probably about once a month, towards after my ladies' days, if you know what I mean. I go really low in energy. And sorry, I just ate some almonds. So I'm like, I kind of go a little bit low in energy. And I I noticed a pattern. So I actually started tracking how, like, when these things happen. And I found that consistently over the last 6 months, after my ladies' days, for about a week, I'm like a little bit more mm, held back, or I feel less upbeat. So my personality is upbeat, but during these times, I really feel a lot more like uh, hibernating. You know what I mean? But not just that, going beyond just the I feel like the need to hibernate, but beyond that, I kind of feel like um, I wake up and I'm not how I normally wake up. Like sometimes, most of the month, I wake up and I'm on point and I'm strong and I got my habits and I got my goals and it's all happening. But during this time, I wake up and I'm really blah, and it's kind of interesting to talk about this because I'm like, am I meant to be here to be like, I know all the answers, I know what to do, but I'm just sharing with you like the things that work for me and the things that aren't working, right? And so in these times, I'll wake up and I'm like a bit blah. And then I'm like, I'll go into my meditation practice and I'm like, so just observe your thoughts and you don't have to, just observe your thoughts. And the thoughts that I notice is I like, honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm scrambling to get out of this blast state. And I'm like, oh, I sense some scrambling. And I'm like, that's okay, let it fade away. I will say, Phil, I was waiting for you to say hello. I was like, is Phil in the house? Hi. We did. And what do you think about that? It's late in the States. It affects the timing that you tune in, isn't it? I'm trying to gauge because some people from Australia want to join in as well. It's just at 2 p.m. is like smack bang in the middle of their day. And so I'm like trying to find a happy medium, but maybe I'll just stick with 2 p.m. and see who can join. Yeah, but let me know what time is it there? So so I'd wake up and then I see my thoughts and I'm in a meditation and I'm like trying to be like, right, Kristine, to get into the place of manifestation. What does it mean to get into manifestation? Okay, you are being the person that you want to be. Okay, and then you're visioning the person that you want to be. And in that thought alone, what I observe is that there is tension. I see the tension, you know what I mean? Phil, 12:39 a.m. So typically we start at 12, I guess. You are a night owl, I say. So I'll notice it and I'll start to actually feel frustrated with myself. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, you don't have to manifest, Kristine. Like so there's this like internal conversation, like you don't have to manifest all the time. P.S. You're already manifesting. So whether you're going for it or not, so what are you going to do now? And I started noticing this. And P.S. When I'm around this time of the month as well, I feel like I can see I'm a lot more tense and a bit more judgy. Ugh. And I hate to like admit it. I honestly do because I'm like, oh, is this the person you want to, you know, put out to the public and say that's how you are? But honestly, I think that's just how it is. In life, some days you are all full of love and like kumbaya, everything is perfect. And some days you just like a little bit more tense. And I noticed it as well, especially because my mum is here. My mum is here right now. So I'm quite used to it's either myself and I work with clients online or I work with my team and they're also online. And I have some friends who I see in real life, right? But I'm not used to having someone like around all the time. And the way that I see it is like our relationships with people that we love, especially those who are closest to us, is quite a reflection. It's a mirror, right, of what you see and what you think. And the things that you love about them is like a representation of your light, and the things that annoy you is like a representation of what Gabrielle Bernstein calls like the what did she call it? It's the parts that we've parts of our shadow that we've disassociated with. And so now we've been together for like a week, and I feel, and especially this time, I'm like super judgy. I'm super judgy. And then I get up on myself to be like, just let it go. And I'll sit there in conversation like this, and inside I'm like triggered, triggered. And I'm like, you don't have to judge. Just be here. Your only role is to sit here and be here. And it's been a freaking great practice. I'll tell you that. It's been a great practice because you remember last week and the weeks before, I've always said that, the higher version, the 2.0 Kristine is like so chill and it's like so unfazed. So how does that person be in a time like this where you're like, you're like, for some reason, some reason you're feeling a little bit irritable and you're getting triggered by all these things. And I was like, well, now is the perfect time to practice. You want to be that person, you be that person now. And so, yes, I'm like sitting there listening and I'm like, trigger. And I go, just let it, like, well, let them speak. You're not the boss of anyone, like you're not the boss of any. In my head, I'm telling myself, you're not the boss of anyone. And like, how would you be if you weren't triggered? I mean, like, I would be in this conversation and I would be present and I wouldn't be judging them. Okay, cool. And I was like, what if you can't control it? Then I'm like, I zone out. I just zone out. And I'm like, what whatever you do, as long as you're not in a place of judging. And so come meditation time, I'm like, you know what's missing here? Like, you need to be okay with yourself. You can't, like, don't be basically, I'm saying is like telling myself, like, don't be a bitch to yourself just because you can sense yourself judging. That act in itself raises your vibration, because I mean, so Phil, you're saying my mum's actually out there. She's working at the moment. Projection from the past or from others. Yeah, triggers are caused by different things. It takes practice and patience to regain your control of power, and that's honestly where I'm at with this, because I think that there are times where you just get a little bit tense about certain things, and you really know that you're not at your best. And my first reaction is, yeah, I know I'm not at my best, but then I also, as a reaction, I start to judge myself, and I'd be like, well, why can't you just be so cool? And that's what I realized in that sort of meditation was like, okay, the first step is, yes, I know I'm aware that I'm being judgy, and then to other people and to myself. And the next part is when you realize, like, you don't have to be you know, mean to yourself. You don't have to be mean to yourself when you're not at your best. That's the first level of raising your vibration. And guys, you won't believe, like, the moment that I realized that, the moment that I was like, oh, okay. And I started journaling, because for me, meditation is like step one, and step two, to like really raise that vibration, I actually start journaling so I can get into what do they call it? A conscious stream of thought. And I try to let it be, and I write down the things that I feel. And then from the moment that I have let out the things that I feel, I can go into the place of conscious manifestation and starting to transform that kind of like tense energy to something that's a lot more flowing. You won't believe, like, this week I manifested some stuff that I even wrote in my diary, my journal, whatever. I wrote it down, I'm manifesting this, and literally 30 minutes later it happened. And it was from this moment to this moment, and it happened. And even when I was writing, I was like, that's doable. That's doable. And I didn't know how. And then I got the email literally like less than 30 minutes later, like, it's done. And so I keep getting these signs that what I believe is true. And so, and I can always not wait to share it and pay it forward, because honestly, like, the thing about I feel, so I'm working on the part and I get tense and I judge myself sometimes if I don't get it right the first time. It takes practice to learn the lesson and gain knowledge from the experience. Yes, right? And don't you feel like to start embodying that, to make that, to transform into that person, it's really practice. And so this week I was thinking to myself, okay, this is a lot of if I really look at this from the outside, based on what I've wanted, and I've wanted to become this person, these are all I'm like getting opportunity moment by moment to step into that person. And I realize that in that moment, it's not so much about transforming yourself into like going from where you are right now to like teleporting yourself into like the most perfect version of yourself in the future. It's more so about the acknowledgement first, and then the love first, like the self-love first, the forgiveness first, removing of guilt first. It's like all of those steps first. And then the next part actually is a natural byproduct, like transforming that energy in that period of time, and then actually getting to the point that you want to get to is a natural byproduct of the forgiveness, of the dissolving of guilt. And I think it's something that is not talked about very often, because I mean, who wants to talk about, I feel as though like topics like guilt and like there's a part of us that doesn't want to associate with those things, because there's a part of us that maybe doesn't even know that we feel it. Maybe there's a part of us that doesn't want to believe that we judge ourselves and we judge others. And it's not a sexy title. I was thinking about the title of this video and I was like, judgment, guilt, things like that. Would you believe, I don't know if you've heard of Gabrielle Bernstein, but she's one of the first thought leaders in this space that I used to listen to when I wanted to sort of learn about spirituality, like sorry, I have itchy nose, from a different perspective, outside of what I was raised in, right? Sorry, what is this? So itchy. Whew. Okay, so Gabrielle Bernstein, so she has a lot of books, right? So The Universe Has Your Back. She's got the book called Super Attractor. She's got a bunch of books that did really, really well. And then, yeah, outside of religion, Phil, basically. And she released a book called Judgment Detox. And I listened to an interview of hers just recently, and turns out that book was like did not perform that well. And I was like, you know what's so interesting? I never bought that book, Judgment Detox. And I was like, I wonder why. Because I was more interested in attracting a super attractor, the universe has your back, knowing that I'm not alone, getting that support. Hair growth girl, how are we? Yeah, so even to me, as a consumer of these kinds of topics around self-development and da da da, da, I wasn't sold into the title Judgment Detox. And so when we talk about these things, and I say, okay, you're coming, like I'm coming from this place of like imperfection. I'm like in that place where I'm feeling low. I'm not just feeling low about the external world, but I'm feeling low about myself. And then to think that the first step is to love yourself, release guilt, dissolve, like dissolve this judgment. It's like not that sexy, but I will say it is so powerful. It is. Rob, what are you doing here? This is from Soul Bistro. Welcome to my Friday lives. I've been doing this for about 3 months now, and it's quite fun. So yeah, today we're talking about surrendering in order to manifest, especially during those times where you feel like you're not your best, because I kind of think that when you know you're not at your best, there's a bit of we beat ourselves up. You know what I mean? Because we know the thing about people who like to achieve things and are achievers and no, we know like what we're capable of, right? And so when we're not hitting those marks during certain days, the first instinct is to be like, like, yeah, that sucks, but I also suck, you know? And I found that in releasing those kinds of feelings and thoughts and kind of being like, look, this is how I feel for today. That's okay. And this is what that situation is. That's okay. Oh, the one thing that I haven't mentioned yet. Okay. So that's step one, right? Is the acknowledgement, the release of certain emotions. But then the step two is shifting your focus. I find that once you can acknowledge that, you can actually shift your focus to something else. And this is something that I found like a really, really tricky step when I first started. Because what I noticed, so through the meditation, right? So I start my day with meditation, but that really opens up the doors to it sets the day for me. It tells me like at the beginning, if I have the power to observe my thoughts today in this moment, then perhaps later today I'll be able to catch certain thoughts, certain emotions, certain feelings. Oh, really? I'm like, I'm sorry, but maybe not. Just kidding. I'm always popping up on your feed. This is on Instagram, you guys. I show up there regularly. But the the yeah, the thing that I noticed about myself. So when I started doing the meditations and opened up that, it was a different way of being every day. Because you know what I noticed? I don't know if I've ever told you this, but try to observe yourself when you're in deep thought and you're just alone. No one is there. You're just alone. Try to notice where your eyes go, right? Just try. Next time you're alone, just try to see where your eyes go, because your eyes will go to a specific place when you're in deep thought. And then when you pull yourself out of that deep thought, your eyes will go somewhere else. This is what I observed. I spent a lot of time physically, like with one other person in the house or in the office or whatever, at like most times. And then the other times it's just me and my dog, right? Especially during this like work from home situation. Back then I used to be surrounded by teams of people all the time, and then a lot of things have changed. But anyway, what I noticed was when I was in deep thought, and not just deep thought like I'm consciously thinking about something, I'm talking about the subconscious. I'm in my habitual thinking place. Like I'm not doing anything, let's say I'm not editing, I'm not doing anything. And I noticed my eyes go down like this, right? So random. So like my eyes would go down like this, and that's me in deep thought. And I found that if I wanted to get myself out of deep thought, I'd have to bring my eyes up. So I learned something similar when I was in my very first personal development course, and that was when we were in conversation with people. Some people, when you're thinking and talking about the past or something that is like, it's actually so, the story is so ingrained in you that you can go back to that place somewhere and have the conversation with someone, and you're not even really looking at their eyes. You're looking into your story. And this was happening. I remember when I was in this personal development group, there was one person, I was one of them. I noticed that when I was talking sometimes about past things, I would be thinking and it would go down like this. And there was someone else, when she was thinking, she was always like this. And it wasn't to the person's eyes. And so years later, so that development class had finished already. I'm like here now. When I started observing my behavior and my thoughts through the day, I noticed that when I wasn't on my best days, when like things I'm naturally like on the ball and like, you know, running this consciously, I noticed that I would be like this. And then so I'd pull my eyes out and be I'm I'm in a spiral. It's not necessarily a bad spiral, it's just a spiral of habit where that's your autopilot. And I bring my eyes up here, and that's when I realized during these times, after the step of surrendering an acknowledgement of what you're not really loving about yourself or what's going on around you, is the opportunity to then transfer your attention. And it's quite a powerful thing. Notice with kids, right, like babies, if they're upset, I don't know, this is just what I observed, like when I was flying on the plane. If a baby was upset, we would try to distract the baby. So I remember this trick, right? For takeoff, I observed this one flight attendant do, and I thought that's pretty clever, because the baby's crying, they don't want to sit in their seat, da, 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 and she would bring them ice, some ice, like ice in a cup, so that the sensation, the coldness, would take them away from whatever they were feeling, and they were now had something else to focus on. And it's funny, like these are things that, so babies, so my dog as well, if he's upset, he's never upset. He's too old. He's like 15. So I'm not going to use that as an example. But what I'm saying is that there is the power to transfer focus. And so this was the skill that I wanted to start harnessing, because the habit that I noticed within myself when I started observing my thoughts during these times of like, I'm not at my best, was just in this pool of nothingness. And so I'd bring my attention to what I did want. It's been really powerful having my mum like around, because to be honest with you, my mum and I are so similar, but in so many ways so different. My mum is actually the epitome of chill. She is the absolute epitome of chill in so many ways. Like she gets what she wants, and the effort is so natural that it's not an effort. Whereas I'm not used to that yet. I'm still, look, I'm going to manifest this. I'm stepping into that. And I'm stepping into that where I'm getting what I want with ease. And it's really about, it's about transforming paradigms. We talked about paradigms last time, and paradigms are they're belief systems that you have to be true. And I don't know why, but I have this belief system that things are hard. Like to get the things that I want, it's like I must work hard and things must be hard. Even though through the years I've had proof after proof after proof that things can come easily. So I'm in this state of like training my mind to understand that things can be easy. And then I see my mum. So she like rocks up like a week ago, less than a week ago. And she's doing her thing. She's she's working with her teams, and she's working from here, and her teams are overseas. And it's been quite powerful to just observe how she is, because I guess maybe to some level I forgot what it was like to just chill out and attract the things. Like I feel like I attract, but I feel like I consciously have to do it. Whereas I'm like watching her, and she's just, that's how she is. And there's no, like, after all of this sort of, do you do the mindset work? You do, last time I was like personal development, and you become so rigid. You get so rigid that for me, like in those times where there was like great growth and focus, there's like parts of my personality. I was like, excuse me, where are you? Where are you, charisma? Where are you, charm? Because you, I feel like you're gone. And so I'm just catching up with the messages. So we all have power, free will to shift our thoughts and be in tune. It takes work and patience. Take control of your mind, knowing that control over your actions, feelings, thoughts, etc. Um, nip it in the bud. Yes. At the core of your inner higher self. Sheila, waking up early here in Qatar. Welcome. So I started 30 minutes later today to see how it sits with everyone. Rob is here today. They run Brisbane's best. Oh my God, Brisbane chicken wings buffet. Hard work and dedication brings you good things at least some of the time, not if not most. Damn, I also feel like if I chill too much, I stop attracting. Thank you for saying that, hair growth girl, because that's exactly how I feel. And this is what I mean. It's like, I feel like if I chill out too much, that things will stop coming to me, which is so ironic because it's actually like the opposite of that. So since this like meditation stuff, I'm like, the message that I keep getting is like, the more you relax, the more things that are meant for you will come to you. And I promise you what, I get the signs every single day and I get all the proof on a regular basis. And then on my lower days, on those lower days, I go back. I don't know if you feel this, hair broker, but I like retract into the old behaviors that I had. And this is why I think it's a practice, because you're retraining yourself, right? And retraining isn't like something that you're like, oh, I'll train myself in 48 hours and I'm done. And that's me now moving forward. There are times which take you back to your old reactions. And I'll just speak for myself, I guess. Oh, Rob, Brisbane's best coach and lifestyle girl. Well, thank you very much. Lifestyle for sure. Oh man, but yeah, honestly, thinking about like what does it take? What does it take to get back into that place of okayness when you're not feeling so flash? And it's really identifying like they say give it your best. Give it your best. What is your best? And I think we often think as though our best has one singular benchmark. This is my best. At my very personal best, I can do this, that, the other, da 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 da. But then what I'm starting to observe is that our best really, it varies. Our best varies based on the time of our life, the state that we're in. Like my best at my highest stress level is not the same level of best as when I'm like super chill, super had the best amount of sleep, ate really well, did the exercise, like best for this person over here might look like it's down here. And then best for this person over here might look like it's up here. But I feel that it's not the case. I feel like even though like best over here, because you feel like you're doing less or whatever, and over here you're like so focused and you're so sharp that you're like permanent. You almost convince yourself that you're permanently accelerated. They're actually more like this, but we just don't see it that way, because when you think of low vibes, your best at low vibes, we just think that this is the most that it can achieve. Do you think so? Do you think that when you're coming from low vibes and your best is like up here, that it's nowhere near as here? But you actually have the power to neutralize that and bring it back together. The moment that you let go of your judgment for yourself and just feel like it's a shitty day, or you're just unable to be the best at that time, that in itself enables to tip the scales and sort of bring it to level with this one. I'm not saying that this one goes down. It's just that what we see over here is not good enough actually lifts it. Apparently there's like different levels of like emotion, right? For when for when we're in life. I'm just going to catch up. So yes, but I think for me, it has a lot to do with a lack of patience. Yeah. Retract is more like rethink or lapse back to before. Yes, girl, if I attract, I want it now. Yeah. When I yeah, if when the thing is, I think when you're on a journey to something and you want to do something, you want to create something, we get into this state of getting, which is getting versus attracting. They're almost two different energies, right? Like attracting, it's like I'm attracting, I'm doing nothing much and it's just coming to me. And I am getting is like what they call it, like masculine energy, right? Not masculine as in you're a male. It's more like the yin and yang. Yang is like the active, yin is like the chill, but both of them are equally effective. And I think you, hair growth girl, and I, we're quite similar because when we get into that feminine energy or that yin energy, the being energy, we underestimate its powers because we're so used to being in the masculine and in the doing and the getting. I feel like masculine is the getting, feminine is the attracting. Um, and and I wonder, sometimes I'm tempted, I'm actually so tempted sometimes to just be like, what if I just what if I just let go as much as I want to let go? As much as my intuition is telling me to sort of not let go and be like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's more like let go because I trust. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm often tempted to do that, and I feel as though with the practice of meditation and balance and what these things, and not always being in the go go go, the I do it a lot more. And what I'm realizing is things still happen, but there are things that still need to get done. You know what I mean? And reframing or creating a new framework for what that looks like is, well, it's quite interesting. It's still new to me. And I've said this last time, it's just new. And if anybody knows anybody who's fully let go and was just like, yeah, I fully let go and like everything fell into, please tell me about them. And can we guest them on this YouTube? Because I've heard stories. Okay, so I feel like this ties together with understanding that people generally do their best depending on where they are in life. It's difficult not to judge others if we judge ourselves. So the universe will find its way to you if it's meant for you. Giving yourself the permission to allow manifest in itself without assisting it. Yes, everybody. Have you heard of this? And tell me if you're so I'm learning a bunch of things at the moment about creating a reality, right? A lot of the people, I think our community here specifically are like a bunch of like, we're active creators of our community. We're not, you know what I mean? We know what we want, we take the action to do it. So I heard this thing, and I don't know enough about this to really say like I fully believe in this. But I heard that I feel a bit silly talking about it because I don't know enough, but I'll say it anyway. I'll share it with you in case you have some insight. They say that when we're born into this life, like there is a certain fate or destiny that we're headed towards. And this might be based on things like karma, like our soul's journey, right? And in this lifetime, there's a fate. That's why, they say we choose our parents, we're born into this and da, 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 like everything is done for a specific reason. And then the thing about reality creation is that there are so many different timelines. What I'm saying is that there's so many different realities that can be, but if you don't actively, like if you don't pop in and be like, hi, I'm going to create my life in this lifetime, then you will end up in that fate. So this like this totally discombobulates my mind, because I'm like, so are you saying that if I don't do anything and I just like sit back to what life gives me, and I don't, I don't tune into those opportunities, or I don't tune into that, it's all about tuning in or surrendering. Does that mean I'm just going to end up where I was meant to be? And where is that place? What does that look like? So giving yourself the permission to allow manifest in itself. I know what you mean and see your point. Let it play on its own without feeding yourself into it. Do you actually know someone who who lets go all the time? Didn't they teach something like that in Landmark? Talking Louise Hay stuff. Similar. Is that what Louise Hay talks about? Because I'm currently in a program and it's about reality creation. And I will say that it's mind blowing. Like it's mind blowing. The reality creation that's happening in such a short amount of time. And I almost feel as though my ego sometimes is like, hold back, put the brakes on, like this is way too fast. And that's what's happening, like, honestly. And the things that I want are like coming up, like it's coming. And I will say most of the time, like effortlessly. And then it really puts a lot of things in my vision, like the judgment, the lack of patience. And it tells me like, okay, what would you like to do? Because you're never forced, right? Like no one's ever forcing us to be a certain way. And I can see that lack of patience with me, and I can see that tension. Like I have a real tendency to work to stress, and so much so that I almost feel like sometimes I thrive off it, even though I get stressed at the end. And so to put on the brakes is like the opposite of my habit. And when I like 3.5 weeks out of the 4 weeks in a month, it's okay. Like I feel it's quite natural. It's becoming quite natural because I've been practicing it for a while. And then there's like half a week to a full week in a month where I just want to retract into my old self and be like, and can I be completely honest? That was this passing week. This passing week, all I wanted to do was work so, so, so hard. And when I wasn't, I was feeling guilty. I would like be in conversation with my mom, and like I haven't seen my mom in like 3 weeks. 3 years. We haven't seen each other, and like I love her company. We're like besties. But when I felt like we were talking, and it was during the day where I thought I was meant to be working, I just inside I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta do this. I'm running out of time. I'm running. I'm over late. I've got this thing to do, and it really got to me. It really got to me because I was a little bit shocked because I felt as though I had gotten to a certain level of mastery for this, for chilling out. That's my goal, really, to chill out. No, really. And I thought I had reached that level where, like, I'm there, you know. I work less, I make more, I'm chilled out. I got these, you know, I'm working with some, you know, people who help me. But this week it was like quite a challenge. And so that's what brought this all around. It got me thinking about, I wonder why. I really had to ask myself, I wonder why I just want to work all the time. Like, do I feel as though, is there a feeling deep down inside that if I don't work enough, that I'm never going to get to that next stage? And then I'll remind myself, you are at that next stage. Like, hello, look around you, you're there. And sometimes there's this illusion that I'm not there. And it kind of got me thinking, like, it happens a lot. I speak with a lot of people who own businesses, and it comes around, like, because the natural thing is when you're in whatever it is that you're building and it's purposeful, it's exactly what you want it to be. The next natural thing is a new goal, and new goals require, you know, energy, effort, or attraction, or you know, so just catching up. So it's like as if money was falling out into the sky without working for it, without no action. This is just an example. So, Miss Kristine, you should be a life coach. You have no idea how often I've thought about doing a neuro-linguistic programming coach to be certified and then go into coaching. But maybe that's where this is all going. Yeah, running out of time is exactly what's happening often in my head. That's my most challenging thought as well. I think the community here is the same. Yes, I agree. I think the community in here, we share a very similar mindset, and I like it. But yeah, so hair growth girl, one thing that I used to do regularly, almost to a level where at first it was like just the way that I was doing things, and then I realized I was getting a little bit stressed about it, was I was always looking at the clock, like, okay, it's 9:35 in the morning. Okay, I still have time to do this. Oh, I still, and so one of the first things that I had to do at the beginning was set time blocks for myself, as if I was not my own, but like I had to act as if I was employed by someone else in my own business, because I'm like, because I needed to be able to manage my time. I've never really been a routine sort of person, but I found that I had to put boundaries for myself, for my own sanity, because otherwise I was looking at the clock thinking, how much more time do I have to do this? And if I could push time further, I would keep on doing it until I get so exhausted that I'm like, it's not even working anymore. But I just feel as though if I sit there longer, something's going to happen. So then I started creating time blocks, and it really impacted my productivity in a really great way, because I had to do something within that time block, and if it didn't fit, it didn't fit. I just have to wait for it, and it took training as well. Took training. Look, I'll be honest, I still don't fully follow that like these days, especially if I'm on a deadline or something needs to come out before anything else. But that is the exact example of building a habit, like building a habit outside of um, what's natural to you. And I guess this brings forward is like, do you work against yourself and build new habits that aren't you? And where does the real you sort of like come through? And I think there's a real balance. I think there's a real balance that can be created. And I'm kind of exploring that at the moment. So I work with a calendar, and so much of that calendar is filled with stuff. Um, and I realize this is how I use my calendar. And I don't know if this is the right way. I really don't know. But I'll look at my calendar, and wherever there is time blocks for me to do certain things for just me, right? I find my discipline kind of wavers if it's got anything to do with free time, because sometimes I'm tempted that in that free time I'll just like work. Um, or sometimes I might be on a task and then I feel as though I need that extra time. I mean, ultimately, it's all about staying in high vibes, right? Do you feel that? Like, this is what I bring it back to. This is what I bring it back to. Creating new habits, high vibes, surrendering. If I feel like something is so deeply against my grain, like working to a schedule, right? Like, because the thing is, my schedule works like this. My schedule is often driven by clients because, we have set meetings and team. So if I have to sort of give a little bit of direction or provide some training to team, then it's driven by that. The rest of the time is, so myself as a course creator, I create trainings online, and I also work with brands and businesses to create content for them. That is my, like, I manage that time. So no one else is, apart from the deadline itself, I manage the time, right? And when I used to watch all of these things about becoming a great leader, becoming a productive person, because I wanted to aim for that, I wanted to aim to be that level of efficiency. I would really force myself into what's perceived as a good leader, like having a really tight schedule and having all the discipline in the world. And then I stripped it back because I guess there was a point at which I wasn't really having that much fun with it. I was like, I just feel like this isn't fully me, and like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then I remember my anchor is this. My anchor is high vibes. It's about like staying high vibe. And I just felt as though if there are some things which are so deeply against my style, and it's actually causing me to not having that much fun in anything that I've created, then what can I do to raise the vibes? What can I do to raise the vibes? Because this is only really going to stick if I feel good about it, not just results wise, not just money wise, not just, all those things on the outside wise, more like how much can, and that's why, so putting that together, right? So there's a pragmatic, and then there's the other thing. What is that? Esoteric approach. They actually come together at some point. They actually come together quite nicely. So when you're out there to create a new habit, you have to have a trigger. So you have the thing that, not a trigger like, hey, something that makes you feel bad, but like something, it's the point of reminder, right? So for me, meditation is a new thing. My trigger is waking up. So when I wake up, the first thing I'm going to do is brush my teeth, and I'm going to sit back down and meditate. So my trigger is waking up. The action is to meditate. But then after that, you've got to have a reward or a positive reinforcement so that you can, you've got to, in order to create new emotions, new associations, more positive associations, and to make that habit stick, we train ourselves in that way. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Now, there are certain things that I've tried to do this with, and it didn't really stick. And I think maybe it had to do with the reward wasn't meaningful to me. So one of the things I did this for was promoting a service that I had, right, in my business, or promoting something. And I really felt so heavy about that. And I know that, like, how are you going to grow your business if you don't promote it ever? You got to do it, right? But the framework that I put in place for myself, even though it was in step 1, step 2, step 3, I realized that my reward wasn't fulfilling to me. And so it was hard to, because, promoting your business, the reward is money, right? That's So this is how I know that it wasn't ever just money to drive me to do this, to make a business, to do all of this stuff. Because if it was, then I'd be doing only the things to make money. And so I had to reshape it and sort of be like, this is when I put the surrender in, and I'm like, okay, well, you know what it takes on a practical level to get to where you want to be, and that's not working. Like, what do you need to do to, like, is this for you? Or do you need to hire someone to promote your business? Or do you need to run ads? Like, how can you reshape it to work for you? And so, like, taking a step back and just being like, do you need to revisit your reward or your method? For me, it was both. In that situation, I actually needed to revisit the reward, because for me, cheesy as it sounds, my what is my reward for that? That's not money. I'll tell you what my reward was for meditating. Coffee. The reward doesn't have to be like so big. It can just be something that is the marker of like you did it. And for me, like when I used to wake up, what I would do before meditating was part of my life. It was wake up, have a coffee, exercise. This time I was like, okay, I'm not going to have a coffee until I exercise. Okay, so that works. But then when it came to promoting the business, I had to think of a reward. Oh, that's right. That's right. I reframed it. So I think I might have mentioned this in a couple of lives before, but I have the habit of sending voice notes to a lot of people on social media, because that's how I reply to messages and I can get it done. And this time I was like, all right, how about we try this? You are not to voice note anyone until you've mentioned your business. And not so much in the salesy way, because it's, I mean, why did I start this business to begin with? I was like, I started this to help people. So if you don't promote it, you're not helping anyone. Okay, so do that. And my understanding of sales and promotions was so icky, and it had a lot to do with my money mindset. There was so much stuff going on behind that one habit that I wanted to build. One habit was related to my money mindset. It was related to what I value. And so I just tried, and I said, okay, so you are not to send any random voice notes of stories or whatever motivation to anybody until you actually do something that helps them. This is what I noticed. When people invest in something, like, and they pay money for it, there's skin in the game, and the results are actually better. Every time I've ever given anything out for free, it was never taken seriously, and the results didn't come because it wasn't taken seriously. The moment that you put a dollar value into something, you've actually made a physical investment, and you start to take it seriously. You know what I mean? Think about it. You might sit next to someone and they're a professional, and you've asked for advice and they give it to you, and you didn't know what their job was. They never took any money from you, and you never gave them any money, and they just gave you the advice, and you're like, oh yeah, you just go about your day. But then let's say you wanted some advice for landscaping, and you go to a landscaper and you pay money for the consultation. You're actually invested, and you're like, I spoke to someone who's legitimately, there's a value, because you've given them value, and vice versa. And so I needed to dig through my stuff in my mind about what business was about and what I'm promoting. And it turns out I had some deep seated kind of beliefs around business, money, value, and that sort of thing. Like anytime anyone said free, I'm like, yep, I'll give it to you. Yep, no worries. Not realizing that I was actually disservicing them, because it's an act of disservice. I was disservicing them because the way in which I was packaging the value that I was giving was like, it missed a big point of it. I don't even know how to verbalize this. And so anyway, so going back to that habit that I was saying that I was building, I was like, all right, well, you need to reframe a lot of things about your own belief systems about your business, because otherwise, how are you going to build this habit, and how are you going to get results? And that's when things started changing. It was actually very uncomfortable around those times. And so when we talk about things that are against our nature, it would have appeared that promoting or talking about my business or getting back to someone who already wanted that service or that product, I used to procrastinate and I used to not do it. Um, and so e- the ego would have the illusion that it is not my nature to promote. And this is I think there's a very fine line between understanding whether it's your intuition or your ego that's running the show. Because if I would have said, no, it's just not my nature, I'm just not going to do it. That's actually like, if I say that, then I'm justifying something. In the meantime, I'd be living in the pain of lack of results. I'd be living in the pain of doing this effort and disservicing everyone, including myself. And so, like, there's a really fine line between understanding that it's ego and intuition. And I think the thing is, when there's pain associated to something, like ultimately, like if there is something that is not serving you in a way that's light and it feels great from the get-go, like a true, pure, like nice, like you feel elated, you feel expanded, then you can bet your dollar bills it's probably your ego running the show. So that's what I realized, because I actually around that time was a little bit of pain in my results, and it was around that time that I would see other people getting results and me not doing that thing. And one part of me would have said, oh, that's not really your strength, it's just so uncomfortable, it's not your nature, you're just such a giver. But in the meantime, be sitting in anxiety, feeling like, why aren't I getting the results? So that's a clear indication, because there was a lot of pain attached to how I was behaving without really, really knowing it. So let's catch up on the comments. Zoya, yes, you are the next. Yes, you are at the next stage. You are amazing. Thank you so much for incredible inspirational. Oh, thank you. That's exactly what I do. It's almost scary how similar we are, says Hair Growth Girl. Wow, it's such a great approach, behaving as if you were employed by your own self. Yeah. I get stressed out too at times when I have DIY projects like working on audio equipment. Oh, how cool. By spray painting the cabinet of the unit, but I learned to not panic and remind myself I got this and I'm in control. Dreadness and anxiousness arise, but I learned to challenge as if I challenge myself to see how strong I am in an obstacle. What a great approach. Yeah, you get to sort of be like, you can do it. So you allow yourself to challenge yourself. I guess you're a very cool boss in your company. Haha. Sometimes staying with high vibes can put pressure on a person. It's okay to be imperfect. I love coffee. Such a good vibe. It pains me that I have to run. See you later, hair growth girl. If we paid on something, we are accountable. That's right. And I'm not saying that it's bad to give, for sure. I mean, it's more so, honestly, like, this is not a topic that um, I feel fluid or fluent to verbalize. Maybe because I haven't really talked about it that much, because I think that there's great value in free. I bloody learned how to do YouTube for free. I had a deep desire, I had a deep need to understand how YouTube works and how social media works. And it was just a situation of my life at the time. I never knew that you could invest in things. And the very first thing, I think I might have told you guys before, that the very first thing that I invested in was like personal development. And I had a breakthrough as I was signing into the course, which I was like, what am I going to get out of this? What if I'm just broken? What if I find out I'm broken and I'm signing up to a course to just find out, why am I in this course, to dig deep into problems that I don't have? Everything came up in that one singular moment of like signing up for a personal development course. Everything came up. My money mindset. It was my first time to ever invest myself. The doubt. Oh my God, the inner thought that I was broken. That came up. The fear, I didn't realize, oh my God, I had so much fear of things that were unknown to me, because there are things that you can invest in and you can calculate what you're going to get out of it. For example, if I buy a pair of jeans, I know that I'm going to get a pair of jeans. The unknown is it going to fit me? Is it going to look nice on me? There's a couple of unknowns. But the deeper into like when you start investing in things that are conceptual, like happiness, what's the measure for that? You're going to be like, what's your KPI? How much happier are you now? It becomes scary. So all of this kind of like popped up as I was signing up for this. And I'm like, it all came up, and then it's actually, the great news is you come out on the other end and you're like, wow, that wasn't that scary at all. And wow. And sometimes you might make investments that you feel like they're not the right investment, but actually they are. They still are. And when you can understand that the guise of your investment was a lesson in some direction, not exactly in what this is the package that you invested in, and then you come out and you're like, well, that wasn't what I needed. And then you realize, so can I give you an example? The very first program that I invested in for business was it was a good level of investment. Like for me, that amount of money that I spent was like, well, I'll admit I wasn't scared because I just finished the personal development course. So I wasn't scared. Like my money mindset was healthy. I just finished being in a course. I felt empowered. I felt confident. And then, as it turns out, you wouldn't believe, but the program that I invested in from the outset, it was like not the right one. It wasn't the right one for me because I wasn't in there for the specific thing that was in the box, in the package. It was about business, and at the time I knew nothing about business. So I was like, I'm going to need to invest in something that teaches me about systems, and I didn't know how to shop around for a coach. I didn't know what I was after, and I was like, any coach. I was like, any coach whose energy I like. So I was like, went to one thing, one workshop, and I'm like, boom, sign up. But it wasn't the right program for me for so many different reasons. But I don't sit around and kind of go, oh, what a waste of money. Never. It's hard. First of all, it's not the most jovial energy, and it's not the last impression that you ever want to have in anything that you invest in, because ultimately when you invest yourself, you're not just investing in the person or the program or the service or the concept, you're actually investing in yourself. And so there's never ever any regret in that. But what it did teach me was, oh my gosh, so many things. Understanding what I need. Actually, it actually taught me a lot about my own personal power and my value. And I never would have thought that that was what was going to come out of a business coaching thing. I think what I learned was that when I first got into business, I didn't really trust myself enough. So I kind of felt like I needed someone else to teach me something that was already within me. But it wasn't that reason that wasn't, look, it was a course about doing things in person. And the thing is, by that time I'd understood how to do things online. And then the way that things went is like online is actually such a powerful place because you get to meet so many people in one go. So since you talked about karma, do you have knowledge on Hindu religion? I have probably a minute amount of knowledge on Hindu religion. I would say that my understanding of most religions is very minimal, and I learn about certain concepts through things where they talk about like spirituality, and they bring on concepts from different practices. So, for example, the karma, I think I learned that from a program around reality creation. There's a lot of concepts from Buddhism that I learned when it comes to like being, you know. And I'm born and raised, Catholic. So, and I don't know whether it's the thing to even mention these things, but because can I tell you, when I was a flight attendant, these topics are the topics that we never talk about because it's a bit dramatic. Not dramatic, but it's like could cause a lot of things. It's okay to give, but don't ever give too much to the wrong people or wrong things. Set boundaries and discipline the decisions. Leave a like. Platonic Sage, thank you. You're very kind. Thank you. Have a wonderful London. Thanks, Rob. It was lovely to see you in here. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll see you online. But yeah, so we're coming to the end of this live, actually. I really thank you for being here. I thank you so much. We're going to be back next Friday. Guys, by the way, I have two people that I've spoken with that I really want to introduce to you. One is he was my wellness coach from like in December, and he was the one who got me to do some sacred geometry, and that thing really but we really visited some money mindset things that I knew we were going to be able to go there. I was just surprised how we did it. So I want to invite him in. He's very good at what he does. He's very passionate about what he does, and he's very holistic. So that's why he was my wellness coach. And the other person that I want to have here, guys, have you ever heard of human design? Oh my gosh, what a concept. I don't know what my human design is, but between now and then, Google it. It has a lot to do. I don't know enough about it, but it's not like star signs. It's not like that. You know, there's all these different things. But kinesiologists, I believe, tap into this kind of this practice or this study of human design. So there's things like manifestors, there's manifesting generators, projectors, there's communicators, and it drives the way that we are. So I'm really, really excited to get her on. It's actually going to be pre-recorded. We can't do it live because she's in London and our time, or maybe we can. If we do it live, it's not going to be at the regular time. Otherwise, I'm just going to do an interview with her and then I'll post it on here. So if you know anything about human design or you want to know anything about human design or you read up about it between now and then and you have questions, please. Oh, the main thing that you'll need about this human design is your place of birth, date of birth, time of birth. If you can get those three things, you can pop it in any of my videos as a comment and I will bring it to her and she will tell me what you are and I can forward that to you. Human design. It's going to blow your mind. All right. Thank you again, guys. And I will see you next Friday. Sheila, I look forward to it just as you do. Any requests for any topics, please drop it in. All righty. See you guys. Have a great day. Bye.